Scars is the greatest Grishaverse book to ever be published. And before you start coming at me and saying, but Daria, what about Six of Crows? And what about Crooked Kingdom? And what about the Dregs? And Kaz? And Inej? And Stop. Stop. And consider the fact that you're wrong. Hey everyone, it's Daria, welcome back to my channel full of lit, and today I'm going to be trying to string together some coherent sentences regarding my feelings on King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I'm gonna do a very quick spoiler-free section, but if you have not read the Grisha trilogy or the Six of Crows duology, there's still gonna be spoilers in this section, because guess what? This book is just one massive Grisha spoiler. So King of Scars is set 2 months after the events of Crooked Kingdom, and in this book we follow 3 points of view: Nina, Nikolai, and Zoya. Nina, you'll remember from the Six of Crows duology. Nikolai made an appearance in that duology and was also a main character in the Grisha trilogy, and Zoya was a minor character in the Grisha trilogy. I have to say that part of my bias and why I just adore this book so much is because it is told from the point of view of 3 of my favorite characters of all time in the Grishaverse. When it comes to Nina and Nikolai, you guys might be on board with me. You probably love them just as much as I do. Zoya, there are a lot of people who have reservations. Some of you might be wondering, how could you possibly like Zoya in the Grisha trilogy? All she did was stand there and look pretty and be bitchy and shallow. And you know what? You are absolutely right, and I fucking loved her for it. But now my baby girl gets depth. She gets a backstory. We get to see the world through her eyes, and she is finally getting the recognition that she deserves. Each character is striving towards a goal and struggling with something. Nina has traveled to Fjerda in order to keep her promise to Matthias to bury his body in his home country, and she is also there on a secret mission for the crown of Ravka. Some of you, who am I kidding? All of you remember when our sweet little prince Nikolai was possessed by some kind of demon dark thing that the Darkling put inside of him. The demon inside of Nikolai is totally out of control. It pops up whenever it wants to, and Nikolai is not sure he can hold it back any longer. This thing wants to feed on whatever the hell is around it, including human flesh. And this is a major problem for Nikolai, not just because, you know, he's being possessed by some kind of demon monster thingy, but also because, he's the fucking king of a country that just got out of a long civil war, and they want peace and serenity, and he's a fucking demon king right now. He can't exactly give that to them, can he? Zoya is a bad bitch, so of course she's holding it down for Nikolai, she's looking after the kingdom, she's making sure that he has his shit together, and she is there every single time the demon comes out to keep it at bay. When it comes to the POVs, surprisingly, I think it was Nina's that lacked the most. Until about halfway through the book, I wasn't fully invested in her storyline. I think a large part of that has to do with the fact that she was isolated in Fjerda, in a different country, surrounded by new characters or characters that we were just getting to know better. Whereas with Zoya and Nikolai, they were always together and they were kind of playing off one another, bantering all the time. And we also got to see a lot of other characters from the Grisha trilogy while we were in their POV. So I'm talking Tolia, Tamar, Jenya, David, the whole crew. This book did 3 things incredibly well: romance, character development, and world building. All I did was just list off things that make a good book. Basically what I'm trying to say is that this book is fucking amazing. So the romance element. There were 2 main romance subplots, but they didn't actually veer too much into romance in this book. And by that I mean that there was just a lot of foundational work going on. Characters were building trust, they were developing relationships and furthering their friendships, and you see those hints of romance in both pairings. I don't want to give away who the pairings are, but let's be honest, you could probably guess. So on to character development. Leigh Bardugo is the queen of creating complex, interesting, lovable characters, and this book is no exception. Each of the 3 main characters had such amazing development. We got to see backstory for Zoya and see why she is the way that she is, what motivates her, what are her desires. We see Nikolai struggle with the fact that there's this demon thing inside him that's threatening to break out of control, and at the same time he has to be a king of an entire country that just came out of a civil war and is poor and destitute and just wants some peace and fucking quiet. And of course Nina is dealing with grief. She's dealing with the fact that her powers have been completely altered by Druda Parem. And as for the world building, this is going to be so hard to explain without spoilers, but basically everything that we knew about the Grisha, their history, their magic system, that's all gone. Leigh fucking did that shit. She took all the rules in her fantasy world and did a total 180 on them. That's really all I can say for the spoiler-free section, because most of the things that I want to say are totally spoilery. Oh, also, the ending of this book, it fucked my shit up. Go read the ending and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And now we move on to the best bit, which is the spoiler section. Look at all these fucking tabs. This is a testament to how much this book fucked me up. Now before I go ahead and crack open this beauty to share all these quotes that I've marked with you guys, let's just go ahead and slip her right off. Oh, hello there, gorgeous. So this spoiler section really has no rhyme or reason, it has no organization. I'm basically just going to be talking about everything that I felt when I read this book. And as you can see from all my tabs, I felt a lot. Let me just start off by saying that I'm a winner. Okay, I'm a fucking winner. And you wanna know the best thing about being a winner? It's the winning. When Leigh Bardugo was drafting this book, she probably sat there and she thought, you know what? I'm gonna give all those little Zoya warriors exactly what they want. I'm gonna give them their fucking rights. And that is exactly what she did. I have wanted Zoya and Nikolai together since I first heard about them in the Grisha trilogy. I saw them both in separate corners of the story and I thought, you two get together. It was my crack ship, okay? Before I even read the Grisha trilogy, I wanted them together. And I sat there thinking, you know what? That's probably not gonna happen. I should really not get invested in that. Of course I did go ahead and get invested because why the fuck not? Fuck my heart, right? But then this little gem came out and my crack ship became canon and I won. Zoya and Nikolai are the embodiment of that trope of the two snarky assholes who have their walls up around everybody, they don't show their emotions, but then around each other, they melt and they're so soft for each other. They're also that couple that bickers and banters and is constantly teasing each other. But God help anyone who tries to do the same, because if a stranger says something about the other person, they'll fight. I'm just gonna go ahead and read through some Zoya moments that absolutely killed me. So the first one occurs when Nikolai is talking to Kirigan, that guy who has a crush on Zoya, because of course he has a crush on Zoya, you'd be an idiot not to have a crush on Zoya. And in response to this, Nikolai thinks he'd come to recognize the bizarre phenomenon of Zoya's beauty, the way men love to create stories around it. They said she was cruel because she'd been harmed in the past. They claimed she was cold because she hadn't met the right fellow to warm her. Anything to soften her edges and sweeten her disposition. And what was the fun in that? Zoya's company was like strong drink, bracing, and best to abstain if you couldn't handle the kick. Well, guess who can handle the kick? Nikolai Lantsov. I love that quote because I think it speaks to why I am so intrigued by Zoya as a character. I think a lot of times we equate beauty with being nice and kind, and that's just not who Zoya is. Zoya is many things. She's strong, she's logical, she's tough, she is compassionate, she definitely has morality, but she's not nice. And I like that we have a character who is good without having to be nice all the time. I think another very enlightening moment is that scene in which Zoya is setting up that Cinderella-esque type ball thing where all those girls from all these different countries are coming in to try to become the Queen of Ravka and capture Nikolai's attention. And Zoya has got a list, okay? She is naming off these girls, she's saying where they're from, she's saying, Nikolai, you gotta have an heir, you gotta secure your line, otherwise Ravka will never be safe. Zoya is logical and practical, she pushes sentiment aside, and Nikolai is the exact opposite, okay? He's a romantic, he doesn't want to marry without love. Another scene that I absolutely adored and that also broke my poor little heart was when Zoya was taken by those winged shoe soldiers, and then Nikolai just turned into a demon. Like, he couldn't even control it. He was so worried about her and so concerned that he just full on went monster mode. But then the really sad part is that Zoya was afraid of him because she doesn't know what he's capable of, because there was that one time that he tried to fucking eat her. And then the fact that Zoya is afraid of him breaks Nikolai's heart, and then my heart is breaking because I love them so much and I just want them to fucking kiss. That's the other thing, okay? They didn't even kiss. How long am I gonna have to wait? Am I gonna have to wait a whole year before their lips touch? Another part that I loved is when the whole gang, so Tolia, Tamar, Genya, David, Zoya, and Nikolai, all of them are together and they're discussing the fact that the demon is pretty much taking control. Nikolai doesn't know what to do with this thing inside of him. And Zoya says, you haven't taken a human life. Nikolai felt a rush of gratitude that she would be the one to speak those words. He cares about her opinion so much. He's such a soft boy. Okay, this might be my favorite scene ever. Zoya is telling Nikolai, hey, if the demon takes over and you become evil and this entire country is at stake, I will put a bullet in your brain before I let that happen, Nikolai. And then this is what Nikolai says and does. He took her hand, pressed a kiss to her knuckles. My ruthless Zoya, I'll load the gun myself. Shit. I loved that scene so much because it showed us exactly why Nikolai is attracted to and is falling in love with Zoya. Above all else, Nikolai values his country. He is willing to put Ravka above his own life. He is willing to do anything for his country and his people. And in that moment, Zoya proved that she feels the exact same way. And that is why they are such a good team, because they have the same motivations and the same goals and desires. The King of Scars and the Queen of Storms, rulers of Ravka, long may they reign. Okay, I'm sorry. For the rest of this review, I have to put the book down because she is one thick bitch bitch and I can no longer support her. So now that I've talked about Zoya and Nikolai, let's move on to talking about Nina and the moments in her story that broke my itty bitty heart. Anytime Matthias was mentioned, when he spoke to her in her head, I wanted to cry. In fact, I did cry. This bitch has been carrying around this motherfucker's body for 2 whole months. And then there's the scene where Matthias's wolf comes out of nowhere and saves Nina, and then that is when her new love interest, Hana, I believe it's pronounced, shows up. Now I might have a slightly unpopular opinion here, and that opinion is that I'm not totally feeling the Hana-Nina relationship at the moment. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I am still mourning Matthias. I only just finished reading Crooked Kingdom, so the wounds are fresh, y'all. Also, I just can't let go of Nina and Matthias. I'm sorry, they were my favorite couple in the entire Six of Crows duology. I loved them to death, and I am also the type of person who cannot move on from the first ship. It doesn't matter how many times the character moves on, I simply cannot. I ship the first ship, and that's it. I know that I will eventually come around because I like Hana as a character. Also, just gonna say, she's a woman of color, she's got brown skin, it's in the book. We win. I really liked that scene between Hana and Nina where Hana is saying that I'm tough, I'm strong, I don't like girly things, and then Nina's like, hey, what the fuck is wrong with girly things? You can like girly things and still kick ass. Look at me. As for Nina's storyline in this book, I love that her entire arc is all about protecting and empowering young girls and taking down the patriarchy. When the Fjerdan girls are in her head begging her for justice, and then she goes into that room and sees that the Fjerdans are doing experiments on Grisha girls, and they're forcing them to have children, even going so far as to force them to have stillborn children. I really like that Leigh is including the storyline of the exploitation of women and their bodies. I mean, it's something that happens all the time, and I like that Leigh is including this issue in a way that doesn't seem like she's doing it just to show off the torture and pain of women without any kind of resolution or empowerment in the end. There are some authors out there, particularly fantasy authors, who just write in the pain and torture and sexual violence against women just for the sake of it. I think Nina's storyline in this book can be summed up by this amazing quote from the voice of Matthias in Nina's head when he says, "But you're not done yet, my love." And he is absolutely right. Nina and Hana are gonna team up, they're gonna infiltrate Broom Circle, they're gonna take it down from the inside. I fucking love that for them. I love that for us. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the 2 major backstories that we got from Zoya and Nikolai. They made me want to delete my feelings. So Nikolai and Zoya have this conversation where they really open up to one another. It's a beautiful scene, and they both tell each other about their pasts. So Nikolai tells the story of Dominic, his first friend, and let's be honest, they were probably boyfriends. Dominic was definitely his first love. The entire story with Dominic ruined me. Okay, I don't understand how Leigh can introduce this character that I know nothing about, that she's never talked about before, and then she makes me care about him so fucking much, and then like 10 pages later, just takes him away from me. That's just rude is what that is. But what really captured my attention with that story was that we got to see how Nikolai became the charming, aloof peacemaker that we see him to be in the Grisha trilogy. In order to make sure that Dominic and his family were taken care of, Nikolai had to learn to charm people. He learned how to charm his mom and her friends, how to get his father to do whatever he wanted. Nikolai has created so many masks, different ones that he wears in order to impress different people, that now he doesn't even really know how to take them off, and he desperately wants to, especially with Zoya, but I feel like he just doesn't know how. I also like that we see that drive that Nikolai has to not be anything like his family. He doesn't want to be like his father, who takes advantage of girls and isn't a good ruler and just sits around and does nothing when his people need him. He doesn't want to be vain and shallow and spiteful like his mother, and he definitely doesn't want to be like his brother, who is just so elitist and doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. These are all examples that Nikolai has looked to and thought, I'm not gonna be that. I'm gonna be better. And so it breaks my heart that he has this demon inside of him that he thinks is stopping him from being the king he wants himself to be. And then we get Zoya's backstory, and hers is particularly interesting because we really don't know anything about her from the Grisha trilogy. Like, why was she so devoted to the Darkling, and then in Ruin and Rising she suddenly turned against him? Okay, what is going on with that girl? So we find out that Zoya was born in this little village, and her mother took advantage of Zoya's beauty in order to sell her off in child marriage at the age of 9 to this 50-year-old fucking pedophile. I literally wanted to vomit when I read that. And then Liliana, Zoya's wonderful aunt, shows up and is like, you know what, this is not gonna happen. I'm not gonna let you do this to Zoya. She goes to Zoya's mom and tries to get her to call off the wedding. Zoya's mom says no. She then goes to the pedophile who's trying to marry 9-year-old Zoya and says, hey, call this off. And then the guy starts beating up Liliana, and then that is when Zoya's true Grisha powers show up. And because of her backstory and history, we finally come to understand why Zoya was so devoted to the Darkling and being a part of his arc army and loved the status of being a Grisha? It's because she didn't have any status. She didn't have an identity. She was going to be sold into child marriage. She was basically just a product for people to move around and sell and do whatever they wanted with. And with her Grisha abilities came the power to govern her own life. And then we find out the reason that she turned against the Darkling, and it's because he killed her family. Zoya's aunt and her niece were living in Novosibirsk, the city that the Darkling destroyed in the Grisha trilogy, and this girl, Zoya, she is the baddest fucking bitch. She travels through the Shadowfold on her own to get to Novosibirsk. God really is a woman, and that woman is Zoya Nazyalensky. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk about some random things that shocked me, fucked me all the way up, or that I loved in this book. Leonie, the spy that Nina is traveling with, that is the girl that Jesper's mother died to save. Leonie talks at one point in the book about a woman who came and drawed the poison out of her body and then died herself. That is Jesper's mom. Holy shit. Also, there's a little club that's been invented since we were last in Ravka. It's called the Cult of the Starless Saint. It worships the Darkling, and I am a card-carrying member. And of course, it would be remiss of me not to talk about that huge fucking plot twist. The fact that saints are alive and are stuck in the Shadowfold, like what the hell? Basically, we find out that everything about Grisha and amplifiers is just wrong. It's a bastardization of what magic truly is. Amplifiers are a complete abomination because the entire point of magic is to give the same amount that you receive. So amplifiers, all that you're doing is just taking magic and taking the life force of something else in order to use it for your own gain, and you're not sacrificing anything equal in return. All the moments between Zoya and the dragon, I fucking loved. I love that he tried to play into the fact that she wants power, and she was like, you know what, maybe I do, but I am not gonna do that to Nikolai, I'm not gonna do that to my king. I knew Elisabetta was gonna be a sneaky fucking bitch, okay? I knew that she was gonna betray my man Nikolai. I felt it in my loins. So Elisabetta is standing there, she's looking at Nikolai, she's saying, sorry little prince, you need to die in order for the Darkling to rise again and for me to come back to power. And then Zoya comes in, she takes the power from the dragon, she saves Nikolai, she kills Elisabetta, a queen if there ever was one. So now that I've already mentioned the Darkling, let's just go ahead and talk about that ending, shall we? Because guess who's back, bitch? My main man, my number one, Darkle Sparkles, the Darkling, he is back. Thank you very much. I'm a winner once again. And yes, before you ask, I did wear black today to commemorate my man. Okay, even if you're not a fan of the Darkling, I still think this was a pretty damn good twist because Leigh Bardugo is bringing back one of the most dynamic, interesting villains in the entire YA genre. The Darkling is a sneaky evil bitch, and I cannot wait to see what he gets up to in the next book. Also, this is a weird kind of conspiracy theory, but did anybody else think that Nikolai was acting very out of character in the end there, where he wanted to keep the Darkling alive? I don't know, I feel like maybe the Darkling is also kind of inside of Nikolai because he was acting very out of character at the end there. He wanted to use the Darkling as a weapon, even though we saw in the Grisha trilogy that that does not work. And also, he was so ready to agree to marriage with that princess. Like, it just didn't make sense to me because he was so against it for so long. I don't know, maybe it was just the desperation of the moment and wanting to protect Ravka, he was willing to do anything, but something was a little bit off there. By the way, let's talk about that other plot twist, shall we? I know it's not as big as the Darkling being back, but it was still pretty damn interesting. So up until this point, Isaac has been disguising himself as Nikolai and he's been courting Princess Aerie, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought they were hella cute. I was getting invested. I don't know why I do this to myself. Like, it's Leigh Bardugo, Daria. Do you really not see where this is going? But whatever, I said fuck my own feelings and I got invested. And then of course they broke my heart because Princess Aerie was not really Princess Aerie. She was an assassin and she was there to kill Nikolai, and instead of killing Nikolai, she killed Isaac. So we uncover this plot that Princess Aerie wasn't really Princess Aerie, she was this guard slash assassin, and the real Princess Aerie was disguised as a Shu guard. The Shu wanted to kill and get rid of Nikolai without any heirs. They wanted to infiltrate Ravka and then use that as a base in order to attack Fjerda. Nikolai figures all this out and he's like, you know what? Psych, bitch, that's not gonna happen, and guess what, Princess Aerie? You're gonna be my wife, we're getting married. Congratulations. You get to marry me, the King of Ravka. And of course, because we can't have nice things ever in a Leigh Bardugo novel, Zoya is standing right there and she's heartbroken because she can't be a queen and she can't be with Nikolai because no one will accept a Grisha queen, and there's so many things standing in their way, and it hurts so much. I just want them to be together and rule over Ravka. They fucking deserve it, and so do I. Honestly, I regret that I read this book so quickly. I really wish that I had drawn it out because I'm going to have to wait a full year to find out what happens. Like with all the other Grisha books, I was pretty much caught up. I could just read them back to back, but with this one, I have to suffer. So that's it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the book, what characters you loved, what couples you loved, what parts blew your freaking mind, how you feel about the Darkling being back. Tell me about it all. All of my social media links are in the description below, so check those out if you would like, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!